Well, welcome back. This is DIY Home and Garden Projects, and today we're making a mallet. This is my template over here that I'm going to use for making a brand new mallet, but with some inlay. So we've made some inlay in prior videos. Now we're going to put them to work and use them in dressing up our mallet. So here's the mallet I'm using as my template. So I have this handle that's got a little shaping and it goes all the way through over here. And so you got to cut your mallet head in half. And so this has a little decorative piece in the middle. So I have a glue up here with a piece of pecan sliced in half, and I have some walnut and pear. To embellish the sides of the mallet, I have a nice piece of Gable with some beautiful green in it. And I'm gonna come along and put on the top and bottom this diamond pattern on top of that. We think that's gonna be outstanding look. So that's the task, to be able to put this mallet together. So I have two pieces of my diamond inlay that are being glued together for the length, so they'll be long enough to cover the head of the mallet. Once I do that, then I'll probably come over here and glue those pieces to the sides of the Gable, and then I can cut it to length and resaw it in half for half the thickness. So I took a piece of poplar and sawed off about 6 inches of that, so it's not quite 8/4, and this will make our mallet head. We'll cut it in half and we'll use this to build our mallet head. So we're taking our handle stock that we have that has the inlay through it, and we're just trimming up the edge to be able to get a flat end. So with that, then we'll trim up the other end. We'll be ready to go. Okay, so I've trimmed up the block that's going to be the handle. I'm not worried about a couple of these burn marks in here because we're going to be using a spoke shave to shape this. And so this is almost flush here. I got a little bit of glue squeeze out, but that's going to be carved away. So this is our block we're going to use to insert into the handle in that fashion. So I have my Gable piece that I'm going to use to glue up my diamonds on either side, and then I'll resaw that and have pieces for both sides. This is going to be my mallet head, and we'll put a piece of teak in the middle, and we'll have that groove cut in there. So now we're going to cut this piece of teak to size here. Have a little bit oversized so the glue up, then we have room to shave it all square. So I've marked off on the top end of the handle that inserts into the mallet head. We're going to shave this down 7 millimeters on each side, all the way down to here. That way this piece will fit into the mallet head. Here's a setup for this cut that I'm going to make here. I'm going to make this 7 millimeter cut top and bottom. So I'll raise my blade up to 7 millimeters, and that will make that cut up to that line on both sides. Then I will use this stop block here on that side to make sure I'm at the same distance for this cut each time. So I'll make one cut there, flip it over, and make the other. So I'm cutting the top edge of the handle that'll fit right underneath the mallet head. You want to get that nice and square. And since I don't have a dado stack in this table saw, we'll just clear all out as quickly as we can, turning it over to keep it flush, and sure enough, we get it done. So my mallet handle will fit in. I'm now going to cut this little groove off right in here to make that a little bit thinner, so the shoulder will support the mallet head all the way around on all 4 sides. So I have a piece of tape on here. So I'll only go up that far and then I'll stop. And that prevents my blade from cutting into the right side over here. Now the next part of this is I want to glue these three pieces together. So I have my little corner elbow that I have for when I'm making veneer samples. And so I'm going to have a block that will, I've custom cut these pieces to hold this in place so I can put pressure. The first one, most important, is to push it that way. To have those guys be able to clamp up and hold it firm that way. Then I have these other pieces that'll hold down the individual pieces, so to make sure that they're flush so they don't bow up when I clamp them. So that's what that's going to look like. So I have 6 clamps holding these guys down as these 2 clamps push it in. Replicating this handle shape, I've drawn on the curves where this would come in on each one of the sides. So as I shape that, so the whole premise is to have this bulb or ball shape here that fits in the hollow of your hand right there, and it just tapers out just slightly to give you something so it doesn't slip out of your hand. So this is a shape that was custom to my hand that I found comfortable, and that's the shape that I've drawn on each one of the sides to help me with my shaping of the mallet handle. So this is the piece that'll go in between. So this will be where the handle will fit in, and you can see we got a little bit of play in here. So this means that our handle is just a smidgen skinnier than our center section. So we're going to plane that down to get a nice and tight fit. So let me show you my planing stop I have on my bench here. So in the middle of my Rubo bench, I have this one 2x4 that is notched on each end. So when I turn it over and the 2 supports on the end make it flush with the top. And then when I need a planing stop to come up just a little bit, I just take it over, raise it up, and I got 3/8 or a 1/2 inch. Let's see what our measurement here. Looks to be about a 1/2 inch planing stop. So when you're trying to plane something, you can easily use that portion. Good tip for you. Okay, so here's our fit we have in between here. It's just, I can see just a whisper in here. We have just enough in here so when the glue goes in here and it swells up, it'll be just perfect. So now we got those pieces taken care of as far as the right width there. We can start carving the handle. So I start with my spoke shave, just carving out the marked areas on the handle. And that way we'll have enough of this area removed without having to sand through or grind through the other part. So now I have a sanding disc on my angle grinder to be able to add some shape into here. It does fast work of this. You got to be careful not to overdo it as it's pretty aggressive. Now the other side of the handle with the spoke shave, just trying to remove the bulk part of our handle to be able to get a little shape in it. Okay, this side is flat and I've power carved with the sander the edges over here, and this side you can see are a little bit more rounder. So we're going to continue to work on that and we'll get it a little softer edges, good enough for a nice handle. Okay, Getting close. We're getting there. Then I take my orbital sander just to do a little final touch-up sanding, just to get it nice and smooth enough. We'll do a little hand sanding to complete it. So here's my inlay. The trick now is to take this and saw it in half. So I have these marks here, and I'll draw a line down here. And we'll have one side, we'll have two pieces, one for each side. So the trick is doing that on the bandsaw. So I'm going to trim these edges off here so they don't have any issues here to get a little bit closer to that, and that'll be the block that we'll use as our insert. So before I cut my piece, I'm doing a test cut. So I put it in here. You can see one side is bigger than the other. So I reset it and did it where it's more in line with what I'm trying to do, and that's about 4 millimeters. The key to making this bandsaw cut on this thin piece of stock is to go nice and slow. You can see I've got a 1-inch blade in there. It'll cut a lot larger pieces, but the key is that I've sped this up 2 times for the pace of it, but it makes a nice even cut. Here's the handle, so I'm going to cut some reliefed slots in here so I can put some wedges in here. It'll slide down in here to spread it apart to keep that handle. So let's cut those real quick. So I sanded my little veneer panels to get them nice and smooth on one side before the glue up, and just get my block there and line it up to the bottom to make sure it was flush. So after the glue up, we have a little bit of residual glue on here, so I'm going to just use the hand plane to correct that. There we go. So I'm aligning my pieces up, and I have drawn lines across here to make sure that these two ends will line up. We have these two pieces that fit in here, and this center line will go off this edge of the center like so. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to glue up this base. This is going to be the top, so this will come in from the other side, but I'm gluing this up so I have my markers here and the excess that we'll end up cutting off because that is too high. So this top will barely poke through that. So what we're going to do is cover this with plastic tape to prevent glue from sticking in it as I do that, and then when I get it clamped up, I'll pull it out. When you do a complicated glue up, it's important to do a little practice glue up. Make sure everything will line up according to what you're trying to do. So this is exactly what I'm doing. All right, so that's how it'll work. So now we have our alignment and our clamps figured out. Then we'll take it apart. So what we do all that, and then we pull the handle out, because that's going to glue up separately. Now it's time to trim off the excess from the top of the mallet head. So we have one little pass right on the edge, so we got it about halfway up through the mallet first level. So we're going to raise the blade up and make another cut. We'll get up through the first layer there of the lighter color wood, and then we'll raise it again. We like what's happening now. We'll go at least halfway up in hopes we can turn it over and get it completed. So we're almost there. Just one more turn here. Make sure we get halfway through. And now we turn it over completely and we cut the other side, and we should have a nice, complete, flat, flush head at the top. All right, that's good, and it's flush across here, but we have a little bit of glue line here, and this is not quite into that edge there. We got a little bit of glue there. So we can scooch it in just a smidge and try to cut that, or we can try to sand it. I'm gonna do one scooch, and that's not enough. We'll come back and sand it. So I'm putting my lower section up against this ridge because I want to cut this guy off to get it flush with that. So I'm gonna put this guy into here. Now I'm gonna clamp this. Then I can raise it up and saw away. Because the fence of my miter gauge is right to the edge of the saw blade, I know that I can put my piece up to here to be able to cut that. So that's what I'm relying on, is to having that square down here at the bottom of that piece. So that's what I want to cut to. So now I'm going to clamp this and should be able to make a nice square cut. Okay, so got my end relatively flush. I have a little bit of proud here, which I planned on because I want to do a little bevel on this, on all edges. So when you have the mallet, you're not going to be ripping out our inlay veneer. So now we're up to the edging or the handle part. So at this stage, I take about 10 minutes to sand and get each one of the sides nice and smooth, ready for finishing. So the next step in the mallet build is to take this edge and shave it back to where it's not on the front of this. Therefore, if you accidentally hit the edge of the veneer inlay, that it would not damage it. So we're gonna try to shave that back some with just a sander. We'll see how it goes. All right, so here's how the first trial is looking. So you can see when you look head on, this thing is back some. You can see that edge. I'm trying to get a little bit of that white exposed here, and this is cut back some. So we'll continue to work on that. We'll show you how we do it. So this is my drill sander. I just clamp it to the bench and sand it off and get a nice smooth little edge. Do this on all four sides, and it works quite well. All right, now it's time to cut the wedges that'll go into the top of the handle. So I have my Paduke here, just a nice little skinny strip. This is 0.7 millimeter here, and this is cut about 1.1 millimeter. You can right here. And so what I'm gonna do, I only need not even an inch to go down into the wedge. So I'm gonna cut these two little pieces here, and then I'm gonna put them on my sander to sand the tip of it skinnier so it'll fit in and help wedge it in. So this is the process of just making my wedges thin enough to slide into my slots I have in the top of the handle. And you do this enough to just kind of get a trial fit, and if it's thin enough, you're ready to go. If not, sand a little bit more. All right, I think those look good. So we'll be able to hammer those guys in with a little bit of glue. So the last step of construction is to flush cut the top. And a final step, a little oil on it. This is the favorite cutting board oil that I use. And so now we finished the project. So if you liked our project, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Want to see more of our project builds? Hey, consider subscribing down below. And as usual, come back and see me real soon.